Hello, and welcome back. This is part 9 of our playthrough of 428 Shibuya Scramble. I'm here with Yoshi.
What's up, guys?
Um, we had like a short take before this. It's okay. But if you don't mind, Yoshi, would you remind the viewers as to what happened in last week's episode?
Sam and Frodo got the ring from Gandalf and they took it to Magic Mountain and threw it in the fire, and then they went home and ate bread. Sorry. No, that was the wrong visual novel. In this one, the super hot journalist guy uh, was in the Cafe Lautrec asking Kano's girlfriend and her father basically why her father is such a tool. And he also met the chicken girl and pretended to flatter her and tell her that she was not overweight so that he could interview her for an article about, well, being overweight. And then we spent a lot of time with Achi and Hitomi as they were running from a man with a gun who somehow knew Achi's name.
Yeah,
I think that's about it.
that's pretty much what happened.
Minori Kawa, that's the name of the hot guy.
Ooh, I have to remember what we did. Okay, so Kano is open.
Okay.
I know we have keypads for these guys, but I think we can open them up somehow. Who was it? So Kano's open. I think Achi can jump. So Achi can jump to Osawa. So Osawa can open up, and Minorikawa can open up. So we can do Kano, we can continue Minorikawa, the journalist, and we can continue with the dad who's cleaning the toilet and his assistant.
Is that still on the cliffhanger with his assistant?
Yeah, where he was, he closed
Let's
his
do
eyes.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
This one. I won't read this. I'll just get to the jump point. There we go. One of her father's co-workers. Here we go. Oh yeah, I think you voiced both of them. Oh yeah, we're back in
really?
Gruff City.
Yeah, that's fine. What does the assistant sound like though?
I have butlery ? As a note.
Um, Here, take a look at this.
Osawa could never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. It was an email from Hitomi. Stifling an exclamation, he scanned the contents of the message. There's a man following me. He has a gun and I think he's trying to kill me. What's my Hitomi voice? I think it's just a normal talking voice, but a little higher. I'm safe for the moment, so try not to worry. The kidnapper warned me, told me not to contact my family or the police. Please keep this email a secret.
But didn't Hitomi give the kidnapper the ransom?
Osawa said.
What could anyone want with her now?
Tanaka shook his head, uncertain.
He wouldn't know any better than I would, I suppose. Did the police know about this? And if so, why haven't they said anything?
He felt himself start to tremble as he searched for answers in Tanaka's silent gaze.
Do you think this could be related to that other thing? I doubt it. If it were, why would they get after Hitomi? I suppose you're right, sir, but
Osawa was shaking outright now. Tanaka laid a hand on his shoulder.
first, just calm down and let's think about what we know about the kidnapper.
His composure helped Osawa keep himself under control.
Um,
This is an interesting shot.
Oh, yeah, it is. Sorry, I was just trying to remember. Okay, it's Osawa. Trying to figure that out. This is a cool shot, though. They've taken Maria,
The vice director continued quietly.
along with a ransom of 50 million yen. And now they're after Hitomi.
His gaze sharpened. Is the vice director Tanaka or is Osawa the vice director?
I think it's Osawa. Tanaka's just some, he's a small fish, you know?
Alright.
Sir, do you think this could be someone who holds a personal grudge against you? Grudge?
Osawa considered. He couldn't think of anyone who would have a reason to attack him. He'd been too caught up in virus research since his time in school to have formed any hostile rivalries. He didn't have any enemies that he knew of.
Maybe someone's jealous that I became head of a laboratory?
He suggested doubtfully. He had held his position for years at this point. Why would that spur someone into kidnapping his daughter now?
Has anything happened recently?
Tanaka asked.
Anything strange since you got back from overseas? Since I got back?
Osawa's heart skipped a beat, then started pumping faster. The first thing that came to mind was the solicitation he'd gotten from the American laboratory. If he accepted the offer, it would put Akoshi Pharmaceutical in quite a bind, possibly enough to warrant someone holding a grudge over it. But the only other person who knew about the potential transfer right now was his wife, Ai.
No,
Osawa said.
nothing. Not that I can think of.
He couldn't bring himself to discuss the transfer with Tanaka. He felt a surge of guilt for contemplating leaving his trusted assistant behind. If he did make the move to America, he planned to recommend that Tanaka replace him as department director. Still, he didn't expect that to make up for his abandonment.
He really loves this Tanaka guy. Like, considering he doesn't seem to like anyone else at all. And the fact that he was pretty okay with when he thought that they were going to do it in the bathroom. He was just like, this is okay, I guess.
This is what viruses do. They procreate.
Well, I don't think they're going to do any procreating, but this isn't that kind of novel. All right, I'll see what information I can find then,
Tanaka said. The kidnapper had forbidden any contact with either family or the police, but Tanaka was outside of that circle, and he knew how to handle himself with discretion.
Sorry to have to put this on you,
Osawa said.
and thank you. For now, let's see if we can get Hitomi to exchange some more emails.
Do you think they actually put a camera in the toilet for this shot?
If I had to guess, I would say no. But
Probably like some
you have a
filter,
better background than I do to determine that sort of thing.
It's probably like not the actual toilet, but they probably put like a basin of water or something. Put in a bucket of water.
Really? I would think they would just use computers.
Maybe, but this was like 15 years ago, right?
They had computers then.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I would be, I don't know. Would it be more expensive to buy a waterproof camera or spend the time to Photoshop? Oh well.
I have no idea.
An uncomfortable thought suddenly occurred to Osawa. He blurted it out without thinking.
Why do you have my daughter's contact information on your phone?
Tanaka gave him a worried look.
Sir, I promise I can explain once all this is over.
And with that, he stepped out of the bathroom. Or maybe Not like inside the water. What if you have like, think of like a glass, kind of like Pyrex, and you put the camera underneath that blue film of water. That makes more
Maybe.
sense. Sorry,
Why don't
sorry,
we
I'm
write
getting
an
hung
email
up on it.
to the people who made the game, and we'll just ask them.
Something in the tone of his final words left Osawa to wonder. Could it be that Tanaka and Hitomi were dating? He hoped dearly for that not to be the case. Their age difference alone made the idea a disturbing one, let alone so many other considerations. Age difference. Right, Tanaka is 40 years old, Hitomi is 19. This makes him just over twice her age. This does not necessarily mean, however, that they could not date or fall for each other. Many couples with such an age difference between them wind up in a happy committed relationship. Still pretty weird though.
Yeah, but if this was in 2006, that people were more understanding of that sort of thing back then. Now everyone would be like, "Oh, red flag, run, sis," stuff like that.
Trying to put aside his paranoia, Osawa resumed his struggle with the clog in the toilet. Most toilet clogs are caused by a build of flushable paper products, or by solid objects inadvertently dropped into the toilet bowl. But, shockingly enough, on very rare occasions, they can be caused by someone taking a dump that happens to be that big that it gets stuck in the pipe. Apologies to anyone who might be eating right now. Have you ever caused the toilet to clog?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. It was, I was teaching at the time, and
You're
I went.
teaching on the toilet?
No, no, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
um, I took my friend to see this school because I was trying to get him a job there, um, and so it was the weekend, and the night before, me and my friend had bought one of those like economy sized bag of Sour Patch Kids. It was like a 2 pounds of Sour Patch Kids or something. Just an
Nice.
obscene amount of Sour Patch Kids, like enough to fill up like a 2 liter soda bottle or something. And we ate all of them. And then the next day, while he was checking out this school on a Saturday, I went and used the restroom and clogged the toilet. And it was still clogged on Monday when I came back into work. Thanks for
Nice.
asking.
So if you want to clog a toilet, Sour Patch Kids is the way to go.
Oh yeah, I mean I've done it a lot of times, but that's just the most memorable. And we don't have time to talk about all of them. So.
Um,
Is
I
this
think it
that
was,
weird guy?
yeah. Oh,
Or is it?
goodness.
Okay,
I think it's me. Kajiwara reappeared, still toting the bucket. You seem to
good.
be having a lot of trouble there, sir. He made it sound like the whole mess was Osawa's fault.
Of course I am. I've never had to do this before.
Really? I think the research you do would be a lot more difficult than this.
Fixing toilets gives me far more trouble, I'd say.
So it would seem. Kajiwara stood watching, as if Osawa's efforts made an interesting show. It's a very interesting picture. I don't know the first thing about viruses, sir, but I don't find unclogging toilets to be that difficult,
Oh yeah?
Osawa snapped.
Then how about you fix the damn thing?
Kajiwara really was a world-class pro at pissing people off. Are you sure? You don't mind? The detective asked.
Be my goddamn guest.
Osawa shoved the plunger into Kajiwara's hand. Leaving the detective to handle the toilet, Osawa marched back to his study. He turned on the CD player and lay back on the sofa, squeezing his eyes shut. He was seriously on edge. Kajiwara had totally broken his stride.
What now?
The door to the study slid slowly open. It's Detective Kajiwara, sir.
Please don't come in here without asking.
My apologies, Mr. Osawa. I just wanted to inform you that the toilet has been fixed.
Right. Fine.
Osawa hardly cared. He just wanted this guy to give him a little peace. Oh my. Is that really all you have to say, sir? Nary a compliment or encouraging word? Maybe a good job, Kajiwara? Or you're getting a promotion, detective? Osawa blew out his breath in exasperation.
How? How are you a detective?
Look at that moist glove.
It's quite moist.
I'm not sure I get your meaning, sir.
You are completely clueless. I'd like to ask your superiors to replace you with a detective who knows how to take his job seriously.
Mr. Osawa, with all due respect, it's unusual for a precinct detective like me to be stationed here at a victim's home.
What's your point?
Not to brag, sir, but I happen to be an exceptional detective. Kajiwara beamed with pride. In fact, I made an excellent showing in the Superstar Detective contest we had on our police social media service. The police-exclusive social media network that Kajiwara belongs to, Poxy, is very strictly regulated, with any abusive language, slander, sexual content, or lame jokes deleted almost immediately.
That doesn't sound like very much fun.
For a moment, Osawa thought the bolt of incredulous anger that shot through him was the onset of a stroke. How could a single person be so utterly infuriating? And you can't tell anyone about this, Kajiwara went on obliviously, but this summer, a new detective manga is starting up based on me. Planned for serialization in the MPD's monthly PR magazine, the chapter titles have already been decided. Chapter 1, The Fabled Detective Kaji. Chapter 2, Kaji Howls at the Sun. Chapter 3, Kaji Rides the Rails. Chapter 4, Kaji at Daybreak. 5, Detective Kajak. 6, Kaji Queen of the Street. 7, Lookout Kaji. 8, Kaji on the Edge. Dance Kaji Dance. Space Detective Kaji. And so forth and so on. Interesting. This guy's gonna be famous.
I want to know more about Kaji on the Edge.
Osawa spat out a peal of feigned laughter.
A manga?
I can tell you all about the plot, sir. Would you like to hear about it?
I would not.
It's about a telecommuting detective who solves major crimes using just his wits and his computer. Surely you'd like to hear about that, sir.
I really wouldn't.
I know I may not look it, but I'm pretty handy with computers. Kajiwara's eyes drifted over to Osawa's desktop. His hand darted to the mouse. In a matter of moments, he cleared the screensaver and booted up a web browser.
Hey!
Osawa barked.
Don't touch that.
But he was too late to stop the detective. The monitor showed the page for AyaNet, a fan page devoted to Aya Kamiki. Osawa's imminent rage stroke was beginning to make his vision grow fuzzy. You come to this site regularly, sir?
Regularly? Oh well, I'm not sure I'd
Osawa trailed off, feeling the heat of a blush flare on his cheeks. There's a lot of stuff on this site. Is there a section you primarily spend time on?
Well, I mean, for my part, I really only go to the fan forums for folks farting over.
Aha! With a twinkle of curiosity in his eyes, Kajiwara peered at the computer screen. Having his privacy invaded to this degree was the ultimate disgrace.
Alright.
Osawa huffed.
You're an amazing detective, Kajiwara. Just incredible. I see you in a new light now. Now would you please?
Oh. What would you like to choose?
Um, let's leave the study.
Okay, please leave me alone.
Yeah. Why don't you please leave me alone?
He got up to leave the study. Sir, hold on. There's something I wanted to give you. Kajiwara reached into his pocket.
I don't need a damn banana. Maybe he clogs the toilet because he eats so many bananas.
You think bananas do that kind of thing?
I think so,
Or
yeah.
like Sour Patch Kids?
Yeah, I think they do.
Osawa fled the room. He needed to be alone, if only for a few moments. But even if he could somehow shake Kajiwara, the other detectives had eyes all over his house. He had reached the limits of his patience. He couldn't even think straight anymore. He headed for the back door, trying to avoid the police. Opening the door quietly, he slipped across the yard and out through the back fence. He didn't want to venture too far from the house. He found a tiny alley and took cover there, thankful for a few moments to himself at last. While there, he caught sight of a man and a young girl, a father and his daughter, running past on the main road. It looked as if they were running from something. The man glanced anxiously back over his shoulder, dragging his daughter by the hand. Osawa watched absently as the pair rounded a corner and disappeared from sight. Not long after, a pair of thuggish-looking men came running along, heading in the same direction. I know one of them is me and one of them is you.
Okay.
Which one would you prefer?
I'll be this guy.
Okay.
You there.
One of them called out.
You see a guy and his daughter around here? They should have come this way.
Guy and daughter is Toyama and Hana. They've come to Shoto while running from loan sharks. Just moments ago, Toyama was talking on the phone with Minorikawa. Ah. We gotta jump back to, I assume, that exact phone call. There was a hint of menace in his voice. Osawa feigned ignorance.
I don't think so. No. That's you then.
The older man? Okay.
I think so.
Come on, Yataro. Let's go, said the older man. Replied the other. The two dashed off in the direction the father and daughter had gone. Osawa took several long, deep breaths. He managed to calm down slightly, but the worry gnawing away inside him still lingered. Oh, Osawa groaned inwardly when he got back to his study.
Still here?
Yes, sir. I was told to keep my eyes on you after all.
Believe me, it shows.
Mr. Osawa, if you're going to go outside, I'd appreciate it if you let me know first.
What?
Had Kajiwara realized he'd snuck out of the house?
But more importantly,
Kajiwara reached back into his suit pocket.
I've been meaning to give this to you.
He held out a small plastic bag. Inside was a scrap of paper of some sort.
What's that?
Osawa asked.
This is what was clogging the toilet, sir.
With some hesitation, Osawa took hold of the bag.
Huh? That's...
The passenger name here is listed as Kenji Osawa.
In the plastic bag was a plane ticket, specifically the one for his upcoming flight to the US the following week. He'd left it out on his desk. How had it wound up getting flushed down the toilet?
This looks
Probably
pretty...
his bitch wife.
This looks like it's pretty important, sir, Kajiwara said. I must say, it was pretty careless of you to accidentally flush it. A wry sort of smile came to his face. Although, the detective added, I suppose the question of who flushed it is another matter entirely. Osawa was at a loss for words. Someone had tried to flush his plane ticket on purpose. He was sure of it. He knocked on the door to Ai's room, but there was no response. It didn't look like she'd gotten back home yet. Osawa let himself in. The stinging scent of her perfume pervaded the room, which was decorated all in white. Clothes were strewn all about, as if to put her slovenliness on display. She had been like this ever since they'd gotten married, and Osawa had long since stopped caring. It must have been I who tried to flush the ticket. He knew she didn't want him going to America, but still, couldn't she have found a better way to get rid of it? Thanks to her, he'd been stuck hunched over the damn toilet, fighting with the plunger. Osawa sat down on the bed amidst the brand-name clothing. Then he spotted something odd down by his feet.
We're going to see his feet?
No feet. But we do see a gold cigarette lighter.
Okay, that's cool too.
Just when had I picked up smoking? Osawa picked up the lighter and set it on the shelf next to the bed. He started out of the room, but stopped as he noticed a scrapbook on the bookshelf. The rest of the shelf was filled with fashion magazines, so the scrapbook definitely drew his eye. Curious, he took it down and opened it. The book was filled with articles and write-ups about the results of Osawa's research and the company's various achievements. Flipping through the pages took him on a trip down memory lane. There was even an old company memo welcoming Tanaka on board as his new vice director. There was a photo of Osawa shaking Tanaka's hand at the party, celebrating his new position. It was a little peculiar to think that she had bothered to keep something so trivial. A series of magazine articles was nestled between the pages further into the book. These hadn't been clipped out for inclusion in the scrapbook itself. Osawa glanced through them. Floundering Okoshi Pharmaceutical arranges marriage of political convenience. It was a self-indulgent piece from some rag called 4-Star General Gossip, from right after he and I got married. When the piece had first run, he'd been too furious to read it. Now he gave it a quick looking over. It was pretty much exactly what he'd expected. It talked about how one of the corporate directors had sacrificed his own daughter in order to keep one of his researchers on board. Sacrifice. Allowing someone else to come to harm for one's personal gain. In this case, the term is used figuratively, not literally. Referring, of course, to Makino offering Osawa Ai's hand in marriage. Rumors abound of marital strife between the newlyweds. The article went on to talk about how Ai had been dating another man before she and Osawa had gotten married. The whole thing was a bunch of puerile rubbish. Puerile?
I say puerile, but it's
Puerile.
probably puerile. I mean, probably people in England say puerile and people in the United States say puerile, if I had to guess.
Puerile. Any marriage involved some kind of calculated self-interest, after all. Whatever the reasons for their union, nothing changed the fact that I was now his wife. With a faint sigh, Osawa put the scrapbook back on the shelf. Feeling disconsolate, he returned to his study and began flipping through his CD rack. His eyes scanned for Aya Kamiki's album, For Tomorrow, Forevermore, with the little dashes. A lot of her more experimental numbers were on that album. Given how discombobulated he felt right now, This was what he needed to hear. Again, Osawa reflected on how there'd been a time when he didn't care about music at all. He'd simply purchased copies of the most popular CD of the moment as birthday presents for his 2 girls. And that had just happened to be an album by Ayakamiki. Hitomi was thrilled by the gift, but Maria hadn't seemed terribly fond of it. The next day, she'd tossed her copy back on her father's desk. Figuring that throwing it away would be a waste, Osawa had stuck the CD into his computer to give it a listen. He was immediately bombarded by an intense beat, bolstered by bold, uplifting vocals. Ayakamiki wrote her own lyrics, which did a fine job of conveying the emotions of a teenage girl. Osawa could hardly believe it. After listening to just one track, he was well and truly hooked. Before the day was out, he had purchased her entire discography.
Huh.
He muttered. For tomorrow should have been in the CD rack, but there was no sign of it.
Where the heck is it? Why isn't it here?
For a moment, he wondered if he was going crazy, and then he remembered. It was at the lab. He'd wanted something to listen to on break at work, so he brought the album there.
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it.
Not being able to listen to it made him want to hear it all the more. It wasn't like he could just go out and buy another copy right now, either. He just had to borrow the copy he'd given to Hitomi all those years ago. Unable to contain his need to hear that music, he went into Hitomi's room. There, he quickly rummaged through the CD rack beside his daughter's bed. Part of him felt like he was being a little sneak thief. According to the email Tanaka had shown him, someone was trying to kill Hitomi. Under the circumstances, he knew that what he was doing was ridiculous, and yet he still couldn't resist the impulse to find this CD. But his efforts were to no avail. There were no Ayakamiki CDs in the rack at all. Osawa pulled out every CD on the rack, but they were all classical music. He slumped back in disappointment. It had to be somewhere here in her room. Osawa jumped at the sound of his cell and fumbled to get it out of his pocket. Makino's name was displayed on the LCD screen. Do we have a voice for Makino?
Who is Makino?
I think his boss.
We've definitely talked to him before. I don't remember who voices him now.
It was so long ago. I don't have it written down. You can decide.
Why don't you be the boss?
All right, I'm the boss. Let me write it down before I forget. What's a good boss voice? I'm out front. That was all Makino said before hanging up. Hurriedly, Osawa began tidying up the CD rack. As he worked, he thought about what he was going to say to Makino. To think that someone had violated corporate policy to such unethical ends. It sullied his research. Osawa wasn't about to let anyone get away with it. And yet, as he was about to leave Hitomi's room, a sudden uncertainty gripped him. He hesitated. Did he have any right to condemn Makino for running trials in secret? His hand began to sweat as it gripped the doorknob. No, he didn't. How could he? His hands were dirty in all this, too. I think this is you?
We need to keep this a secret, just between us. It'll be fine. We've already cleared animal testing.
The memories hovered. Osawa himself had already administered the antiviral to someone, hadn't he?
was the only way.
Muttering to nobody in particular, Osawa trudged toward the front door of his house. Ooh, we got to the end of the hour. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so who can we, who else we got? Kano?
Kano, and we can jump to Minorikawa. Yeah, I don't think we have any jumps for Tama anywhere.
Let's jump to Minorikawa.
Okay. Let's see. 12:35. Let me double check what this other one is for. Da, 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 da. This one's also 12:35. I think this is the jump. This might be it. Okay, here we go. Minorikawa took a look at his wristwatch and gritted his teeth. Wristwatch. By the way, what sort of impression do you have of this wristwatch? Just respond with whatever happens to come to mind.
It's fancy. I don't know. I guess having a watch is inherently fancy.
Yeah,
I would say almost any watch is fancy.
I bought a new wristwatch just the other day because I thought it looked cool.
Oh yeah? Is it fancy like this one?
Not as fancy, but it has like the date and the day of the week.
That's pretty nice.
It's pretty cool. I guess that one has the day of the week also. No, not the day of the week, the date. 28th.
Wait, this is me. Oh yeah. Damn, is it that late already?
He needed to head for the sales demo. The surveillance camera article wasn't done, but he'd just have to leave it where it was for now. As he was slipping his laptop back into his bag, his cell phone rang. He looked at the screen and saw Chiaki's name listed as the incoming caller. Was she done with her interviews? Hurriedly, he picked up.
Chiaki, how's it going?
Oh yeah, this is the Mickey voice, huh? Several wet sniffles came through the receiver.
Hey, are you crying?
It's no use. Chiaki's voice was, indeed, punctuated by sobs. People won't stop to talk no matter how hard I try.
Oh, come on. This again? Really?
I can't do it. Don't worry about paying me. Just please let me go home.
We've done this already.
It might be different, because it was locked behind a keep out, and I don't think we went through one of his keep outs. Minorikawa was already operating on a too tight schedule. He didn't have time to worry about Chiaki on top of it all.
Look, just slow down and take a breath. Try and keep it out a little longer.
He should have seen this coming when he first called her. Her shyness was practically pathological. But if he cut her loose now, all this frustration would be for nothing. I think the other route, she was already on the train home. But I can't do it, Chiaki whined again. I'm sorry, I really am.
Look, just calm down.
Minorikawa was practically screaming into his phone.
Stay where you are until I get there, okay? Got that? Whatever you do, just don't move.
Leaving the money for his coffee on the table, he strode out of the cafe. Street interviews were tougher than they looked. Not many random passers-by were willing to stop and do a back and forth. Still, being able to talk to people on the street was a fundamental skill for a freelance reporter. All Minorikawa wanted was for Chiaki to put in a little effort and make it happen. Although he found her personality frustrating, he actually quite liked her writing. Reading her words, you'd never guess what she was like in person. If she could just break the right story, he was sure readers would be quite taken with her. There is no time like the present. The plaza outside Shibuya Station was as crowded as ever. Minorikawa looked around and soon spotted Chiaki.
Hey, what are you doing?
He asked. She was hunkered down in front of the statue of Hachiko, squatting in an odd position. A group of kindergartners was gathered nearby, peering at her with sadness in their eyes, like she was a stray dog or something. You want to read this one?
Sure. Kindergartners, in this case, would be a pair of girls from Midoriyama Academy's kindergarten. They always hang out around the train station after school. They're quite fond of killing time inside of the Tokyo 5000 series display car, the new landmark by the Hachiko entrance. The beat cop at the station's police box has nicknamed them the Kinder Partners. Look at those cute little kids in those weird hats.
Maybe that's a school uniform.
I guess. What's this all about?
Minorikawa asked.
This is how I end up when I lose all my self-confidence. I just want to hide.
Oh, for crying out loud. Get up, will you?
I don't wanna.
Stop crying.
Chiaki sniffled and wiped at her eyes.
Let me ask you this.
Minorikawa stared down at her.
What was it that made you want to be a freelance writer?
Well, I guess because I wanted to try my hand at writing.
A dangling bit of mucus bobbed in and out of Chiaki's left nostril as she spoke.
Okay.
Minorikawa followed.
And why's that?
Well, I'm too embarrassed to say.
Chiaki hid her face in her hands.
Okay, never mind that then. Right now, you have a task that's been handed to you. You can't just say you can't do it.
Minorikawa tried to keep his tone calm.
No magazine in the world is going to let a novice writer just write about whatever they want. You have to prove yourself first. Get your fundamentals down.
I already know all that.
These kids. Minorikawa took the notebook from Chiaki's hands.
Hey!
She squeaked.
Wait. You've only talked to one person so far?
There sure wasn't going to be a story in that.
Yeah. Well, not a person exactly.
Wait, what's this here? A cat?
No, I mean, yes, there was a person in a cat costume. I thought since I couldn't see their face, it'd be easier to ask them stuff.
So I guess this is our Tama jump. Yeah.
Fine, whatever. Now get back out there and give me some more.
These kinder partners. What are they doing? Minorikawa steered Chiaki toward the passing crowd. Were you saying something?
No. That's okay. Keep going. What now?
Oh, I think that was me.
What, now?
Oh. I was like, what now? I didn't see the comma. Yes, now. We've got no time to waste. I'll even stand by and watch for a minute. Now, enough with the excuses and get out there.
Minorikawa looked on as Chiaki wandered through the crowd. Her anxious demeanor seemed to repel everyone around her. On the rare chance she did manage to flag someone down, the way she stammered through her initial questions made them take right off again. After a minute or two, she shuffled her way back, shoulders slumped.
See? It's hopeless.
Okay, some advice. First off, you aren't approaching the right people. Some people are clearly in a rush, you know? You're not going to have much luck trying to flag down a businessman who's visibly in a hurry. Now, folks who are waiting on someone, couples, groups, they're going to be less on their guard.
But, I mean, if I do manage to nab someone, how do I keep the conversation going?
Chiaki asked. That was indeed the tricky part.
Whenever I get an answer I'm not expecting,
Whenever I get an answer I'm not expecting, I get all flustered.
Ducky, have you ever played tennis?
Tennis? Well, yeah, I was in my school's tennis club.
She struck Minorikawa as being more the manga club type, but that was neither here nor there.
Okay, that'll make this simpler. What's more fun? Rallying with an opponent or hitting the ball off a wall?
Rallying with someone else, of course.
Minorikawa gave a hearty nod.
Why is that?
Because when you hit the ball off of the wall, you already know where it's going to come back to.
Revelation dawned on Chiaki's face.
Oh,
Same with interviews.
Minorikawa said.
Don't get flustered. Enjoy the rally.
but I don't think I'm composed enough to enjoy it.
Don't overthink things. Just let yourself enjoy the small talk.
Small talk? Oh, I'm sure I'm not any good at that.
She was starting to waffle again.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Minorikawa said, taking a step closer.
Are you happy with your life right now?
I'm not happy with my life right now, no.
Chiaki muttered. She hung her head in dismay.
Okay, so start with that.
Minorikawa said.
Huh?
Chiaki blinked a few times as she lifted her head back up.
I'm not happy with my life right now. What about you? Like that.
Oh, okay.
A sliver of liveliness had crept back into Chiaki's voice. Minorikawa jabbed his finger right in her face.
Right there.
He said.
Put on that face when you flag people down.
Chiaki's smile widened.
I'll give it a shot. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Good luck.
Chiaki strode enthusiastically into the crowd and tried to flag down a Westerner who was walking hurriedly past.
Did she even listen to a word I said?
Minorikawa felt his short-lived triumph melt away.
Am I just going to have to teach her everything again from scratch?
Then he paused in surprise.
Hold on. Okay, good. Whoa.
Chiaki had snatched the man by the arm in an attempt to get him to stop. To Minorikawa's amazement, the gambit worked. Before long, it looked like the two were engaged in some kind of animated conversation. Maybe she would get an interview out of this after all. Heck, the look on her face was actually somewhat confident. Sometimes people could surprise you once you got past their surface issues. Now Minorikawa could head to the Burning Hammer sales demo with a little more peace of mind.
Speaking of which... Crap, what time is it?
In a panic, Minorikawa checked his wristwatch. Think about this wristwatch. That will tell you how you think about the opposite sex and whatnot.
I think they're fancy. I guess women are kind of fancy.
I wonder if that's like a, I don't know, if there's like a pun or something in the original Japanese. I don't know. I remember staring at that tip for a long time trying to figure out what it all meant when I first played it. The demo was set to start in less than 5 minutes. Uh-oh. He really was cutting it close. Minorikawa sprinted through the intersection, heading for Center Guy. Ooh, we got to another to be continued.
Alright. So, we just have Tama, which we have a jump for, and Kano. Assuming there isn't anything we need to fix.
Let's do Kano.
Okay. Let's see. I know we read these, right? It's not letting me skip forward. Thinking back to the way Tateno had put his life on the line to rescue a bunch of strangers made Kano feel all the more raw about just tailing these syndicate members. Letting the crooks just wander around wasn't going to bring Maria Osawa to safety. Of that, Kano was now certain.
Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect, ever.
He uttered the fundamental dictum out loud.
I'm assuming this is a cosplay detective.
Yeah, try it and we'll see.
Well, you've lost sight of it completely.
A voice said out of nowhere.
What?
Kano spun around. Oh,
Oh, it's not.
it was Shizuo. Rumi was with him.
Sir?
Kano stuttered.
Weren't you supposed to be waiting at the cafe for... so he's a southern man.
Yeah,
Southern
yeah.
Japanese. He's from Kyushu. There was some lowlife there, so we left.
Rumi's dad looked plenty mean under ordinary circumstances. Right now, he looked like a man possessed.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm still on duty at the moment. I'm going back home.
Shizuo huffed.
You're not marrying my daughter.
He turned to walk away.
No, please, just wait. I'm done waiting. Now I'm going home. Please, don't do this. Just hear me out. I've heard all I need to hear from you. Rumi, we're leaving.
I think you're also the girlfriend.
Oh, jeez. Dad, please. Goodbye.
Seizing his daughter by the hand, Shizuo stormed off without another word, dragging her behind.
Yeah.
She called out over her shoulder.
Rumi.
She was gone. Rumi was gone. Kano desperately wanted to go after her, but he hesitated in an agony of indecision.
I'm gonna turn my back on my responsibilities. I'm a detective. My work has to be my first priority. Going after Rumi isn't what a good detective would do. Oh, Detective Tateno, what should I do? Tateno,
Still, the dictum echoed in his mind. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect.
Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect.
You what?
I is the other guy's wife.
6 months later. 6 months later. Kano made his way through a small corner of a vast field in the Nagano countryside. Slowly and leisurely, he tilled the soil. He'd surprised himself with his own newfound enthusiasm for organic farming, learning more from Shizuo day after day. His father-in-law had taught him the ways of farming from the ground up, and while things had been rocky between them at first, their friendship was now growing strong.
Pausing to wipe his brow, he smiled at the acreage around him. He looked forward to tending the crops he'd sown until harvest came around. If he'd stayed on as a detective, he might well never have known the joy he now found in his work. And this wasn't the only seed Kano had planted.
Oh boy. I thought it wasn't that kind of book.
By the time harvest season came around, the new life growing within his dear Bumi's belly would be ready to celebrate it with them. Bad end.
What a happy bad ending.
Kano went after Rumi and Shizuo, proving his devotion and earning her hand in marriage. Now he's a farmer in Nagano, and crime in Tokyo is someone else's problem. But hang on a sec, why weren't Rumi and Shizuo waiting at the cafe like they were supposed to be? Well, there's no way for Kano to know about how one man's bit of curiosity at that cafe led to this strange twist of fate.
I knew it probably wasn't the correct decision for Minorikawa to go over there and bother them, but sometimes you gotta pick the fun one, every one that you think is gonna be right.
Yeah, you mentioned that he was acting weird during that whole thing. Alright, so I should go back and fix it, huh? You're okay to keep going a little bit, right? Or
Yeah, I think we should do like one more thread, like finish this thread or whatever.
alright, this is the one. Alright. Remain writing.
I feel like it usually punishes you for picking the silly one.
Like fighting the cockroach?
Fighting the cockroach, or yeah, like something's beeping, so like let's go over there and argue with the lady. Like I feel like it generally wants you to behave yourself. Although maybe once in a while that's not the case.
Kano is still at a bad end then.
Oh no.
Tom is
What do we
open.
need to do?
So to fix Kano, a certain someone needs to give those two, the father-daughter duo, some better advice, and a certain other someone needs to meet up with them outside his or her house. Does that ring any bells?
Someone needs to meet up with them outside of his or her house? Someone needs to meet up with them. No, I don't know who that is.
All right. So, the first person is Minorikawa, and the second person is Osawa.
Okay.
Remember when Osawa went out of his house and he saw them run past?
Just today?
Yeah, in this very episode. And then the Yakuza guys. Remember the guy who said "aight"?
Yeah, and but we told them no.
Yeah.
And
So, we need Minorikawa to give them different advice, and then Osawa needs to do something.
Okay.
Where does he give the advice?
Oh, he needs to tell them. He needs to tell them not to go back to the office.
Yeah.
Look, we'll get you through this somehow.
Minorikawa said, hoping it was true.
Just keep your head down and stay out of trouble. Stay where you are now. Stay where I am. But what am I supposed to do?
Toyama's voice dropped in and out. It sounded like he was moving quickly.
Find some place to hide and just lay low for a while.
Minorikawa told him.
All right.
Toyama said weakly. He hung up. Minorikawa let out a deep sigh and turned back to his laptop. Alright, so that should be good.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Osawa's a little different. Let's fix this. Osawa fled the room. He needed to be alone, if only for a few moments. How much can I skip? I can't. Okay. Alright. He headed out the back door. He opens the door quietly. He didn't want to venture too far from the house. He found a tiny alley and took cover there, thankful for a few moments to himself at last. He hadn't been there long when he caught sight of a man and a young girl, a father and his daughter, running past on the main road. It looked as if they were running from something. The man flashed a look back over his shoulder and took his daughter by the hand and pulled her off the road. They crouched behind some bushes, hiding. As he looked around, wild-eyed, he spotted Osawa watching him from the alleyway.
Help!
The man called out.
Help me. Please. If these guys catch me, Oh.
The father's eyes went wide when he got a look at Osawa's face.
You're... Huh?
Osawa thought he recognized this fugitive too, though he couldn't remember from where.
There's some real nasty guys after us.
The man said.
I know I have no right to ask you this, but please, at least keep my daughter safe. Probably you should go to the police if... No, they won't be able to help me with this. Please, I'm begging you. Help me. I'm sorry, but... Please, if not me, then at least help my daughter.
The man pleaded. Osawa looked down at the girl. Unlike her father, she was calm and reserved. She reminded him of Maria when just a little. Alright, we got two choices.
Let's help them ourselves.
Osawa couldn't just stand idly by. He decided to help them evade their pursuers.
Alright, follow me. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
He led the two back to his house and into the storage shed out back.
Wait, is this gonna work? We need them to meet someone. Okay, maybe it's fine.
Maybe we'll see,
You can lay low in here for a while if you like.
he said. The shed was fairly large. There was plenty of space for the man and his daughter.
I'm so sorry.
The man said.
I'm not sure how I can possibly thank you. Don't worry.
Osawa closed the shed door and headed back out to take a look around. Two thuggish-looking men came running up to him. No doubt these were the people the father and daughter were running from.
You there.
Said the one in sunglasses.
You see a guy and his daughter around here? They should have come by this way.
There was a hint of menace in his voice.
A man and his daughter? Ah, yes, I think I saw them run through here. Which way'd they go? That way. Sweet, we almost got him.
The pair sped away. Osawa waited until they were fully out of sight, then called out to the shed.
Alright, they're gone.
The door stayed closed, however.
I'm really sorry.
The man called back from inside.
Those guys might come back this way. Is it okay if we hide out here for a little while longer?
He sounded desperate. Pitiful, really,
Sure, go ahead.
Osawa said. With that, he headed back inside. Evidently, he just wasn't going to get any
time alone today, no matter where he went. Alright, and I think... yeah, okay. This line is complete, so Kano should be different. Alright, let's jump in, clean up some Kano. The two detectives took up position on opposite sides of the plaza. Kano called up Sasayama on his cell phone.
You ready?
He asked.
Just give the word.
There were only two non-Japanese people in the nearby crowd. Both were eyeing their surroundings anxiously. Kano was certain the handoff was about to take place. And sure enough, the second man approached the one holding the attaché case. After exchanging a scant handful of words, he took the case and walked off.
Sasayama? I'll handle the guy with the case. Got it.
Sasayama broke into a run, chasing after the man who'd taken the ransom. Kano hung up his phone and rushed to close the distance with the other man.
You there, stop where you are.
The suspect turned, and Kano recognized his face. He was indeed a member of the foreign crime syndicate that operated in Shibuya.
Is the hostage safe?
Kano demanded. The man's only response was an unsettling grin.
Answer me.
But though he repeated the question, the man remained silent. Kano. Handcuffs or phone?
Let's cuff him up.
Cuff him up, baby.
It's cuffing season, baby.
Took out a pair of handcuffs and reached for the suspect's wrist. Handcuffs. Equipment used by police offers to shackle suspects. In Japan, the belt that makes up part of the officer's duty uniform has a storage pouch for a pair of handcuffs. The man pulled a knife from his breast pocket and swung it right at Kano's face. Kano managed to jerk away in time, but his momentum carried him too far backward, and he sprawled onto the pavement.
Yeah.
The suspect was already making a run for it. Suddenly, a large car of foreign make skidded to a halt, blocking off the man's escape route. Route? Route. Route. A tall Caucasian man jumped out. He wore sunglasses and a crisp suit. Now cornered, the fleeing suspect brandished his knife.
Be careful.
But Kano didn't even have time to finish shouting his warning. There was a metallic pwing, and the knife went flying through the air. The man in the sunglasses had snapped his right foot up, sending the weapon flying. As the attacker's jaw dropped in astonishment, the newcomer proceeded to elbow him right in the face. The blow connected, and the suspect went down hard.
Who's this guy?
I guess that's the suspect. I'll do it.
Okay.
Ah. Ow. The fallen man turned his head to look at Kano. His mouth moved as if he was attempting to say something. He never got it out. The man in the sunglasses kicked him in the face. With a groan, the perp slumped down, unconscious. Ugh.
Hey,
Kano snapped.
what the hell are you doing?
He stormed over to the man with the sunglasses. The man nonchalantly dusted off his suit. You decide who gets to be this man.
I'll let you be this man.
Okay. Sunglasses man. You were ordered to watch and see where these guys went, right? He spoke in fluent Japanese. Imagine that you are a Japanese person who has never been in a situation where you suddenly had to speak to a foreigner. You haven't used English in ages, your tension grows. You think back to English class in school, but nothing you remember is helpful. You muster up the courage to choke out a stammered, do you? The foreigner responds fluently, in your own language, Nihongo de daijoubu desu. It's alright, I speak Japanese. Has that ever happened to you?
All the time.
What happened to that Japanese sense of honor I've heard so much about?
Who are you?
I'm from the U.S. Embassy's Regional Security Office, the man replied. U.S. Embassy is an embassy of the U.S. Ambassadors are guaranteed diplomatic immunity. Embassy grounds are considered territory of the home nation. It is located in Akasaka. Alright. He presented Kano with his ID. Jack Stanley. His title was listed as Security Assistance Officer. What do you think about his signature?
That's a funny way to spell Jack Hanley. Jack Stanley.
Kano glanced at the car he'd shown up in. The license plate was blue with white lettering.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
But the ministry wouldn't just send some diplomat to intervene in a police investigation. Kano pulled his phone out of his pocket. Sasayama's name was displayed across the LCD screen.
How are things on your end, Kano? I have the suspect in custody. How about you?
Sasayama hesitated.
He got away from me. What about the attaché case? I'm sorry, but he's still got to be around here somewhere. I'm gonna look around some more.
Sasayama hung up. What's your name, detective? Jack Stanley asked as Kano was processing this new information.
Kano from the Shibuya precinct.
Alright, Kano. I'm going to need you to follow my instructions for the next while.
Why is that?
Instead of answering, Stanley took out his cell phone and made a quick call. After a few moments, he held the phone out for Kano. Here, permission from your boss, he said.
What?
Kano squawked. He took the phone gingerly, bracing himself.
Kano speaking.
Yeah, I'm the boss, aren't I?
You imbecile! What the hell are you thinking?
It was Kuze, and he was furious. Understandably so, really. Kano had disobeyed a direct order, and for what? All he'd accomplished was losing track of the attaché case.
I'm sorry, sir.
You really think sorry is gonna cut it?
You're off the force, Kano. Kano slumped, defeated. He had no reply. He knew he deserved whatever punishment he got. Still, orders from up top didn't trump the hostage's safety. If he could have gone back and done it all again, he was sure he'd make the same call. Maybe that meant he wasn't detective material, but so be it.
That's what I want to tell you, Kuze continued. But for now, I need you to follow the instructions of the guy there, Stanley. Do whatever he tells you.
Sir?
Kano hadn't seen that one coming. He disobeyed orders. That was undeniable. And yes, he knew he deserved a reprimand. But being ordered to tag along with some stranger who just turned up out of the blue? What the heck?
May I ask why the U.S. Embassy is involved with this?
No more questions, Kano. Step in line.
Please, just hold on. Sir, I have no idea what's going on here.
Kuze let out an exasperated sigh. That makes two of us, kid. And with that, the director hung up. It sounded like even Kuze didn't have the whole story here, which meant that orders were coming from someplace higher. A foreign syndicate moving the ransom around, the US Embassy. Whatever was going on, it was more than just a local kidnapping case, and Kano was deep in the middle of it. He handed the phone back to Stanley. A few moments later, two detectives from the MPD arrived on the scene. Stanley handed over the fallen criminal to them. "You're chasing a bum lead, you know," Stanley said as he watched them carry the man away.
What do you mean?
Kano asked. "I mean, this kidnapping isn't about the money."
My priority is the girl's safety.
"Right now, your priority is doing what I tell you to do." Kano gave him a scowl, but Stanley ignored it.
That guy we just arrested.
He asked.
He tell you anything?
Or wait, was this? Who's saying this?
Oh, maybe it's Jack Stanley.
What
Probably
do you
it's
say?
Jack
What do you say?
Stanley.
That guy we
I don't
just
know.
arrested. He tell you anything?
Pardon me. No, nothing.
Kano said. Yeah, it was Jack Stanley who said it. Ooh. Really now? All trace of emotion drained from Stanley's eyes. His gaze pierced Kano like icy daggers. It held a glimmer of something dangerous. Something Kano had seen plenty of times since he'd joined the force. He wasn't looking into the eyes of some diplomatic liaison. No. This was a man who knew how to kill, who'd killed people before. With some effort, Kano managed to regather his sense of professionalism.
He didn't tell me anything.
He repeated.
I just know that he's a member of some foreign crime syndicate that works out of Shibuya. I probably know some of their hangouts.
"Show me," Stanley said, cool as an automaton. "We'll take my car." Kano wiped away some of the sweat that had beaded on his brow as they headed for the vehicle. He was just sliding into the passenger seat when Kuze radioed over the wireless. "Okie dokie, folks, listen up." The childish tone was back in his voice, full force. Oops.
Okie dokie, folks, listen up.
Kano stiffened on reflex. He knew what that meant.
So, Hitomi Osawa has, gone missing?
What?
Kano couldn't believe his ears. Wasn't Tateno supposed to be protecting her right now?
Also, Detective Tateno hasn't radioed in. And, we can't reach him from our end either.
No way.
Kano blurted out.
It can't be.
So, yeah,
Kuze continued.
he might have gotten caught up in this incident, too.
It wasn't like a detective of Tateno's stature to go incommunicado during an investigation. It could only mean that something had happened to him. Something major. To be continued.
Alright, so we just have Tama. How are you feeling? You want to finish it off, or...?
I think this is probably a good place for us to stop for this
All right.
week.
Cool. So, wait, let me go to Tom. What are your thoughts so far?
I think that this case is a mess. It's just getting worse and worse for everyone involved. And I'm also curious to know if Hitomi is stopping Tanaka. I think the answer might be yes.
Ooh.
But I know it's not that kind of novel.
It could just happen off
Says
screen.
it's not, but like it kind of is. You know, at the same time.
So that's the only theory you've got? The only impressions?
I don't have a good theory yet. I don't
Okay.
know. We might have to wait a couple weeks for that. I'm not good at that sort of thing.
Have you...
I'm the guy who's always surprised by the twists in the movie. I'm never the guy who's like, oh, I saw that coming.
Have you ever seen the TV show 24?
Just a couple episodes.
Yeah, this game seems very very heavily inspired by that, with like
Yeah, I
the
guess
hours
so.
going on. And the guy they picked for this Jack Stanley looks like,
Kiefer Sutherland.
yeah, he's got a Kiefer Sutherland kind of look to him, doesn't he?
I suppose so, yeah. Do you think the 4-2 in 428 Shibuya Scramble is a subtle nod to 2-4, aka 24?
It could be. But probably not.
But it could be.
But it could be.
Yeah.
I think 428 is just the date. And I think there's a pun also.
In Japanese.
Yeah, I think 428, if you read it a certain way, is Shibuya.
Oh. Cool.
I think one of the tips mentioned it. Maybe one of the tips mentioned. I don't know if they mentioned it already or not. So, that is this week's episode. Catch us next time. We will finish up the hour with Tama. And I assume find out what time is it? 1 o'clock? Almost 1 o'clock in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna find out what the next hour will bring. Lots of threads. Do you still suspect that the characters will all like meet up, have like that crossover moment?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's all connected.
Alright. Do you have a sign off? You got a good sign off quote?
Oh, there was a story I wanted to tell. It came up while we were doing the novel. And I was like, that reminds me of a story I want to tell. But it's too long to tell it right now.
Oh.
So I'll tell it at the end in the sign off. But then I forgot what it was.
Alright. Well, I was just gonna say, for my sign off, make sure you, I don't know the exact word, portion out your Sour Patch Kids.
Oh yeah, portion control.
Yeah.
We gotta PC those kids.
Yeah. Make sure you take a bathroom break in between every like 2 ounces.
Smart. Could have used that advice 5 years ago.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
See you, folks.